MeMonster.
Chapter 16. Mr. Han Yu-jin, can you hear me? When I didn't respond, Sok Gim-young tried again. I wanted to just say I couldn't hear and hang up. Sok Gim-young, the HR manager of the Haeon Guild. A peculiar man who, despite being a B-rank awakened, rarely entered dungeons and stuck to office work. There were even rumors that he had skills related to HR. He was one of the founding members of the Haeon Guild, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he, along with legal team leader Kim Hae-yoon, managed most of the guild's operations outside of dungeon raids. He was the pillar supporting the young, almost childlike guild leader. But we didn't get along very well, to put it mildly. This guy had a knack for shredding people to pieces with his sharp tongue, turning them into rags. Damn it. Back then, I was so frustrated and angry that I couldn't sleep, almost dunked my head in a bowl of water to drown myself. If you can't hear, I'll come up in person. No, I can hear you. The hell you are. I don't even want to see your face. Your voice alone is creepy enough, so don't come. Glad to hear that. It seems you didn't catch it clearly, so let me introduce myself again. I'm Sok Gim-young, the HR manager of the Haeon Guild. I'm Han Yu-jin. Why is he calling? Is it because of Yerem? Then should I just have Yerem contact him directly tomorrow? I'm her guardian. Damn it! Why did I not take that role? Why do I keep making decisions I end up regretting later? I really hate this guy. I do. I should have left the Haeon Guild in the first place. How did I not foresee getting tangled up with this bastard? Can't he just send a subordinate instead? Is it because it's an S-rank matter? Damn it! Should I just bail now? Well then, I look forward to working with you. Yes, likewise, I look forward to working with you too. Despite my trauma, Sok Gim-young's voice remained calm and elegant. He looked like the kind of middle-aged gentleman who could grace the cover of a famous business magazine. My first impression of him had really been good, competent, kind-looking. Kind my ass. I've just received word from the guild leader about Park Yerem. As the HR manager, I'd like to express my gratitude and admiration to you, Mr. Han Yu-jin. Yes, thank you. His attitude was still polite. Well, I hadn't caused any big incidents this time. Does that mean I'm safe? Is it okay not to be scared? He's not going to stab me in the back later, is he? I'd even consider inviting you to join the HR team. Are you crazy? No, this was just a coincidence. Even though things have changed from before the regression, I don't want to work face-to-face with Sok Gim-young. I'd end up with chronic indigestion from the stress. Even if it was by chance, I believe it's an accomplishment that shouldn't be downplayed. It will be a great asset for the Haeon Guild in many ways moving forward. I see. Getting compliments from this guy, maybe this regression was worth it. For some reason, I felt a bit itchy around my ears. I'll discuss the details of Park Yerem's contract with you in person. All right. I don't want to meet him, but since I'm Yerem's guardian, I have no choice. But if he stays this nice, it might be tolerable. Do you have any other questions? No, nothing. Well then, I look forward to working with you again, and I'll contact you tomorrow morning. Yes, I'll see you tomorrow. As soon as the call ended, I let out a deep sigh. It's okay. The conversation went well. Don't get nervous. Gu-gyung? Peace tilted his head, wondering what was wrong, and placed the belt he was holding on my lap. I reached out and petted the soft fur around his horn. Neither Sok Gim-young nor anyone else remembers the old me, so it's okay. The current me is still clean. Not a drop of blood on my hands. It's like none of it ever happened. Regression is really convenient. Peace, should we sleep together tonight? Yeah, come here. Hugging Peace, I stood up. I should sleep early instead of thinking about pointless things. Maybe I've been under too much stress, I murmured to myself as I looked at the perfect example of a disaster area. There wasn't a single piece of equipment left intact in the training room that had seemed normal just last night. Not just broken, completely unrecognizable. Considering they were made for awakened individuals, the durability of these machines wasn't ordinary. How the hell did she fold them like paper? You said your strength stat was 61, right? I asked, staring at what looked like a paper crane made out of who knows what. It wasn't paper, but I couldn't think of another word. With that stat, it shouldn't be impossible to do this, right? Yerem beamed with pride at my question. I used a skill. It's not an attack skill, but a buff skill. A buff skill? What? Which? I almost blurted out the name of the skill. Yesterday was so chaotic that I hadn't gotten around to asking about it. She ended up breaking the headrest in the car while calculating her average stats. She got too excited upon hearing she was S rank and accidentally swung her arm. Shadowless Day. It's an SS rank skill.
Yerem said proudly. I was curious anyway, and it turns out Shadowless Day is a buff skill. SS rank, huh? That's impressive. What kind of skill is it? It's an area buff with special effects. It increases a designated stat by 30% and the effect of a designated attribute skill by 20%. It can also swallow the enemy's shadow to stop or slow their movement, and it gives an additional buff based on the quality and quantity of the shadows absorbed. An area stat skill buff, enemy debuff, and additional buffs too. It's definitely worthy of being called an SS rank skill. A debuff that stops movement usually depends on the difference in rank between the caster and the target. With an S rank's SS rank skill, B rank and lower dungeon monsters would be like scarecrows. My useless L rank skills could learn a thing or two. This SS rank skill is so damn efficient. I clapped my hands, genuinely impressed. That's really amazing. What about your other skills? You've got more, right? Yes. Hermes Shoes, White Corpse, and Cold Sigh. The first two are S rank, and Sigh is A rank. Cold Sigh was one of the initial skills of Park Yerem, who later became famous as the Ice Witch. At least one familiar skill came out. Cold Sigh overlaps a bit with Shadowless Day. It also freezes and stops the target. Yerem said, a little disappointed. Usually if two skills have similar effects, one of them becomes redundant. Can the effects be stacked? I haven't tested it yet, but the description says similar or identical skills can't be stacked. Hold on, Shadowless Day. As soon as she spoke, the skill activated. A white light spread around Yerem's feet, lengthening the shadows under the bright overhead lights by 2 or 3 times. When she stepped on the shadow of a round metal ball, the shadow melted away. So that's how it's used. Then a faint mist was emitted, freezing the metal ball. They stack. So they do stack. Cold Sigh physically freezes, while Shadowless Day seems closer to a curse or magic. Even if the effects are similar, they're not the same skill? Exactly. For example, crossing a cliff using magic versus throwing someone across with strength both achieve the same result, but they're completely different actions, right? It's the same idea. Skill descriptions only cover the basics, so awakened individuals have to experiment to find the most efficient ways to use them. If Cold Sigh is more efficient, use it first and then follow up with Shadowless Day to freeze the ones Cold Sigh couldn't handle. I think the synergy between the two skills will be pretty strong. Really? Of course! If you try to step on the shadow first, there's a risk of counterattack, but if you use Sigh first, you can easily turn the enemy into a scarecrow with the shadow. Does the shadow only work by stepping on it? No, the skill description says it absorbs through contact. Through contact, huh? So it's not necessarily close range. Pick up one of those metal scraps and throw it at me." "Throw it?" Thunk. The metal scrap flew and hit the shadow of a triangular object. The shadow instantly vanished. "Does this work too?" Urim looked at me in surprise. "As long as it makes contact. Do you have any attack skills?" A single area damage skill would be perfect, but she shook her head, disappointed. Hermes' shoes and white corpse aren't attack skills. Then what are they? Well, Hermes' shoes increase agility, allow flight, and provide short-range teleportation. White corpse... Urim hesitated. What kind of skill is it that she's hesitant to mention? Well, it's a skill that extracts information from corpses. No wonder she's uncomfortable. But it's a highly useful skill. It might be tough for a 15-year-old girl to use, though. Let's keep white corpse under wraps. Keep it hidden? Yeah, skills like that are better kept secret. When you register as an awakened individual, you don't have to disclose all your skills. Just list Shadowless Day, Hermes' shoes, and Cold Sigh, and minimize their descriptions too. It's always better to keep a few cards up your sleeve. I usually disclose the effects that were easy to spot during combat and kept the hidden effect secret. For Shadowless Day, just list the buff and debuff. Don't mention the additional buff you get. For Hermes' shoes, only list the flight. Cold Sigh has a single effect, so write that in full. Usually, single flight skills are ranked between A and B, so mark Hermes' shoes as A rank too. 1 SS rank, 2 A ranks. That's a suitable skill set for an S rank. You really know your stuff. You sound like a total expert. Urim's eyes sparkled with admiration as she praised my explanation. After more than 4 years in this field, this much is just the basics. But it's a bit embarrassing. It's nothing. But you've only been awakened for a few days. Even so, you know all about skill usage, combinations, and how to hide tips. Did you study this? Not exactly. I just know a bit more because my brother is S rank. You'd know this stuff like common sense if you lived for 5 more years than regressed. It's a shame you don't have any attack skills, but you'll get new ones as you level up. Skills typically appear at a rate of 1 per 10 levels. However, they sometimes require specific conditions to be met, so in some unfortunate cases, someone might not get any new skills until they're over level 50. What if I only get support skills again? Don't worry, I'm sure your next skill will be an attack skill. Since Cold Sigh came out, there's a good chance she'll get other ice-type skills too. It would be perfect if she got her signature area of effect skill, Pale Rain, as well. If I remember correctly, My Kit is the best allows the acquisition of skills beyond the initial set, right? Since it only lasts for 3 days, it would be a waste to use it now, but I should save it for when we're doing practical training. Your stat adaptation is done, right? Yes, I couldn't sleep much, but I still wrecked the exercise equipment.
Despite the lack of sleep, she was full of energy. Maybe it's because she's S rank, or maybe it's just her youth. Well, I remember pulling all-nighters without any trouble when I was young. It started getting hard after I hit 30. Then let's go sign the contract. I said, pulling out my phone. Even though it's my brother's guild, business is business. We need to do this right. Chapter 17. The reception room had an antique charm. The overall interior was influenced by Eastern designs, while classic Western furniture was arranged in a way that, despite seeming mismatched, blended well together. Knowing Sok Kim-young's personality, all the furniture here was probably genuine antique. Once I sat down on the black leather sofa as directed, I was offered a drink. It looked like the kind of place where they'd ask what type of coffee beans you preferred. "Orange juice, please." "I'll have juice too," Park Yerim said, who was seated next to me. Across from us, Sok Kim-young wore a kindly smile. He had such a gentle expression that even if I suddenly started hurling curses at him, he'd probably laugh it off with a, "Ha ha ha, I see," like a saint. "I'd like to thank you for prioritizing the Heian Guild." Sok Kim-young's voice was so polite, it almost felt sweet. From the first time I met him, I noticed his voice was something else. With his gentlemanly, likable appearance and that voice, it's like he was born to be a top-tier salesman. Yerim seemed half swayed by his voice too, but since I knew just how ruthless this man could be, I wasn't fooled. When he pierced you with those words in that smooth voice, it took your breath away. To be honest, family connections played a big role, I said, with a smile mirroring Suk Kim-yong's expression. And also, it's thanks to Park Yerim trusting me. You acted in a way that made you trustworthy first and foremost. Yerim grabbed my arm tightly. Hey, don't cling to me while we're in the middle of work. This is an important contract for you. Don't miss Park Yerim doesn't have an offensive skill yet. But with just Shadowless Day and Cold Sigh, she's already more than suited to be a combat-oriented hunter. Her strength stat might be slightly below the S-rank average, but with her self-buffing abilities, it shouldn't be an issue. Suk Kim-yong accurately assessed Yerim's situation. While he didn't know it, the old Park Yerim had been a battle mage, so the strength stat wasn't particularly crucial. If she acquired ice-type attack skills smoothly, she could boost her magic stat with buffs and ice attribute skill boosts. She'd be unstoppable. With the additional buffs, she'd sweep through monsters with ease. And with Hermes' shoes giving her agility buffs, flight, and teleportation, she was practically overpowered. I looked at Yerim anew. What is it? Oh, nothing. With optimal S-rank skills, her combos would be no joke. She was strong even when she only used ice magic, but now she's going to become a complete monster. She might even surpass Yu Hin. Come to think of it, I should check Yu Hin's status window too. I hadn't checked it yet because My Kid is the Best's cooldown time was still long. He might have missed out on some optimized skills, so I should observe and use the skill accordingly. Suk Kim-yong continued. For combat hunters, guild contract terms usually revolve around dungeon quotas and equipment provisions. Each guild has a specific quota for A-rank and higher dungeons. A guild's reputation hinges on how many A-rank and higher dungeons they manage. If I remember correctly, the current Heian Guild manages the most dungeons right after the top 3 guilds. Since Miss Park Yerim is still a minor, she can start with B-rank dungeons. If you want to move to A-rank or higher more quickly, I recommend clearing about 10 C or D-rank dungeons first. I don't plan on rushing into high-level dungeons, I said. Yerim is only 15. Rather than hastily tackling A-rank or higher dungeons, it's better for her to get used to combat and skill usage in mid to low-level dungeons. As a battle mage, skill application is especially important, so she needed plenty of practice. I'd like to focus on her growth for the next year. A wise decision. Suk Kim-yong nodded slightly. We would also recommend that approach. Gradually gaining experience while syncing with other guild members and then forming a new S-rank team is the best path forward. An S-rank dungeon team must include at least one S-rank combat hunter. So, for the Heian Guild, it would be more advantageous for Yerim to gain experience and form her own team rather than joining Yu Hin's team. If the Heian Guild had 2 S-rank dungeon teams, they could claim a few more S-rank dungeon rights from those jointly managed with other guilds. However, that would naturally extend the contract period. In return, we will spare no effort in providing the support Miss Park Yerim needs for her growth. To my knowledge, no S-rank hunter has signed an exclusive contract with a specific guild. Domestically, except for the one government-affiliated S-rank, all S-ranks are guild leaders. Overseas as well, most S-ranks were either guild leaders or government-affiliated, with the remaining few being freelancers. Freelance hunters don't belong to any guild, but cooperate with the government or guilds through short-term contracts when requested. So even if she's just affiliated with the guild without tackling dungeons, it would still be a significant advantage for the Heian Guild. Extending the contract period under the guise of supporting her growth seems a bit greedy, don't you think? A guild with 2 S-rank hunters. It would be the first and only worldwide, and the brand value alone would be enormous. The more I think about it, the less I understand why Yu Hin made such a fuss about my being her guardian yesterday. Is that something a guild leader should do? Not just as her guardian, he should have practically sold his soul to get her to sign the contract. You seem to have a better grasp of the hunter industry than I expected. Well, I've been in this industry for over 4 years. I might not know every detail of the upper hunter world since I was at the bottom, but is there anyone who understands the overall trends better than me? At the moment, no. Unless they're a prophet, I'm the best there is.
As you said, just having Miss Park Yerim associated with our guild would be a huge advantage. It seems I was a bit too eager to maximize that advantage. Despite his words, Seak Kim Yong seemed quite pleased. What's this? Did he lay another trap? For A-rank hunters, the standard contract is usually 5 years, with a 200% renewal cap based on performance from the second year onward. How about a 3-year contract with annual renewals based on performance starting from the first year without an upper limit? In the future, S-rank hunters contracted with guilds typically work on 1-year contracts with annual renewals and updated terms. But considering Yerim's age and the growth trajectory of the Haiyan Guild, a 3-year contract wasn't bad. She'd be 18 in 3 years, and by then she wouldn't need my help anymore. Sounds reasonable. What do you think? I turned to Yerim and asked. She shook her head slightly. I don't really understand, so I'll leave it to you, mister. To put it simply, you'd be affiliated with the Haiyan Guild for the next 3 years. You wouldn't be able to join another guild. What about you, mister? Are you signing a contract like that too? Huh? Why am I being brought into this? Well, I'm just sticking around. No reputable guild would take in an F rank. Unless it's some local guild run by a D rank or lower, like a neighborhood association, F ranks aren't accepted into guilds. Well, they might hire you for menial work, but that's it. No way! Mister, you have to sign a 3-year contract too! Yerim said firmly. Is she trying to get me roped in as a bonus along with her guardian? What's going on? Can that be added to the contract terms? Of course it can. Yerim and Seak Kim Yong were going back and forth. Could you at least ask my opinion too? I'm not signing anything. I'm just helping you settle in and then I'll rest. I've already given up on Kim Sung-han. I'm just going to help Yerim, Yu Myung-woo, and Yu Hyun now and then with some skill boosts. And that's it. I plan to live a laid-back life raising monsters, not joining any guilds. If I raise just one high-grade phoenix each year, I'll be living comfortably. So why bother in making things difficult for myself? Yerim pouted at my words. You said you'd take responsibility. Just sign a 3-year contract. Stop tugging at my arm. It hurts. Even without a contract, I'll still be your guardian for the next 3 years, so don't worry. If you don't trust me, I'll write you a new contract. But still, it would be nice if you joined the same guild. My brother is the guild leader here. I might not have a formal contract, but I'm already halfway in, so I'm not going anywhere. Why would I leave when I've got it good here? Yerim nodded, somewhat reassured. All right, you promise you won't go anywhere? I won't. There's nowhere else that would take me. For now, that is. If I managed to raise a phoenix, I'd be welcomed with open arms by any guild. But I don't plan on moving. After calming Yerim down, I returned to negotiating the contract terms. The basic salary for an S-rank hunter is about $10 million a year. It might seem small, but this is just the base salary. The real income comes from dungeons, where the average profit split for S-rank dungeons is 80-20. The guild covers all dungeon preparation costs, and the raid team takes 80% of the profits. As the team leader, the S-rank hunter takes at least 50% to a maximum of 80% of the raid team's earnings, depending on their contribution. So, one S-rank dungeon raid could easily net $1 million. That's why most hunters prioritize profit-sharing ratios over base salaries.
You're probably your first time negotiating a hunter contract, but you seem more skilled at it than I am. Seok Kim-yong said, scanning through the list of contract terms. Well, you're not even 3 years into this, while I'm over 4.5 years in, and with the amount of information I've accumulated, there's a 4.5 year gap, so of course I'm more skilled. I watched the S-Rank Special series on the Hunter channel more than 10 times. I've practically memorized these contract terms. These terms could serve as a standard S-Rank Combat Hunter contract, though I'm not sure when we'll get the chance to recruit another S-Rank Hunter. It is a standard contract, after all. It's based on the standard contract that came out about 2 years after S-Ranks began to gradually increase after the establishment of the Awakening Center and various incidents. I just slightly adjusted it to fit Yerem's situation. The standard contract is based on adult combat hunters, after all. I won't use the priority rights or auction rights for S-Rank equipment just yet. It's better to decide after checking her skills at level 10. Level 10 will come quickly. It'd be great if she got Pale Rain. Then we could immediately equip her with ice magic-focused gear. Understood. You're truly thorough in every aspect. It's no wonder you've earned Miss Park Yerim's trust. You seem like someone who's been active in the hunter world for several years. Haha, I just awakened a few days ago. Maybe I acted too knowledgeable, but it would be a waste not to use the knowledge I've accumulated. After finalizing the contract terms, we printed the contract and signed it, even stamped it with a seal. Yerem smeared ink on her fingertip and then rubbed it on the back of my hand. Hey, don't draw a heart. You can go ahead with the Awakener registration tomorrow. I'll inform them. They'll probably also notify the press. It's going to be a big deal, so they'll want to package it in a flashy way. And here are some documents related to the inheritance that should have gone to Miss Park Yerem. I'm sure you'll find them useful. Seok Kim-yong handed over an envelope. Oh, thank you. I'll make good use of this. Is that everything? As I was about to get up, Seok Kim-yong stopped me. Please wait a moment. Huh? Is there something else?
I thought we were done. Seok Kim-yong looked at me with an intense, eager gaze. I'd like to sign a contract with you, Mr. Han Yu-jin. Wait, why me? I already said no.
Chapter 18. Sorry, but I'm comfortable just as I am. I've decided to live quietly, like a docile lizard on a rock. Though considering the things I've got going on, I might not be living as quietly as I planned. Still, it would be such a waste to let my precious skills go unused, so I'll keep a low profile and live as peacefully as I can. Please reconsider. So Kim-yong wasn't giving up. Soon everyone will be able to attempt awakening easily. The Hunter Association predicts that within a year, the number of awakened in the country will surpass 5 million, and within 3 years, more than 2/3 of the population will be awakened. In such a time, wouldn't it be a shame not to make use of your abilities, Mr. Han Yu-jin? Shame, my foot. From the way he talks, you'd think I was some once-in-a-lifetime recruit. I appreciate the high regard you have for me, but Park Yerim's situation was purely coincidental. The odds of such luck happening again are nearly zero. That's what I said, but if I wanted to, I could definitely find more people with S-rank potential and optimize their awakening. But I won't. This is enough. Yerem alone is already more than enough trouble. Let's just wrap things up with giving Yoon-myung-woo an SS rank skill and call it a day. Of course, I don't expect you to bring in another S-rank awakened. That would be beyond excessive. It would be downright greedy. In fact, you don't even need to recruit any new awakened. Then, Seok Kim-yong's eyes sparkled with interest. With your remarkable insight and analytical skills, we could build a new system in the hunter industry. No way! What is this guy talking about? Insight? Analysis? What a load of crap. I just copied everything. I had the answer sheet. From the future. Mr. Han Yu-jin. I said no, and I mean it. I don't have that kind of ability. I didn't even get into college. I finished high school by passing the GED. look at my lowly education and just give up already. Your educational background isn't important. I almost cursed out loud. Take a look at job listing sites. They're full of places that won't even consider you without a degree. If you've never been rejected without even getting to submit an application, then keep your mouth shut. Anyway, I can't do it. I won't do it. I really don't know how to do any of that. Even if you cut off my wrist, I won't sign. I'll just use my skills here and there, raise some pets, and enjoy living off my talented little brother's success. When I firmly stuck to my refusal, Sok Kim-young finally seemed to give up. I understand. Then let's just proceed with a regular guild member contract instead of an HR team contract. Can't I just stay halfway involved like I am now? I have no intention of joining a raid team or stepping foot into a dungeon managed by Haiyan. Certification and training as a hunter are fine as they're short term, but you'll need a contract to stay in the employee dorms, especially since you'll be staying in the residence for high-level hunters, not just the general employee dorms. Even as a family member of the guild leader, your affiliation needs to be clear. Sok Kim-young had completely calmed down from his earlier excitement and was now explaining things in a composed tone. Well, I do need to be close to Yerim, so I can't stay in the general employee dorms. It wouldn't be strange for me to live in Yuhyun's house, since it's a guild residence and we're siblings, but... All right, but if possible, I'd prefer to contract as a regular employee, not a guild member. You're saying you don't want any support as a hunter? Yes, I'll take the training, but I don't plan to work as a hunter after that. Anyway, I can only enter low-level dungeons. I can just pay my way into those. Thanks to Yuhyun, I'm already well-equipped. I was planning to raise Phoenixes as an independent contractor with Haiyan Guild on a case-by-case basis, rather than as a guild member. That way I could balance work and play as I liked. Freelancing really is the best. It's possible, but the terms will be less favorable. You're intending to act only as Miss Park Yerim's guardian? Yes, if that's possible. To be honest, Mr. Han Yu-jin, your educational background and experience don't meet the qualifications for Haiyan Guild's open recruitment. And didn't he just say that educational background didn't matter? He sure changes his tune quickly, depending on the situation. Of course, just discovering and successfully contracting an S-rank awakened is more than enough to qualify you. But the issue is what comes after. It might be fine for the first month or two, but if you're doing nothing and just collecting a salary, it'll eventually cause some murmurs. After all, being Miss Park Yerim's guardian isn't exactly guild business. Is that really an issue? I don't care. Let people talk. After being publicly dragged through the mud once, a little gossip doesn't even itch. There aren't many people who've received more hate comments than I have. Now that I think about it, it's making me a bit depressed. It's fine. Just set the salary at minimum wage. I don't need much of a salary. Even if I failed to apply the keyword to peace, I still have my stocks. I remember the name of the pharmaceutical company that developed the hair loss treatment, and I remembered the companies whose stock prices shot up because of the S-rankers that started appearing after the Awakening Center opened. I can just use my savings and severance pay to buy stocks. As long as I have enough money to get by, that's good enough. How much is the minimum wage these days? Around 8,000 won? Since you're not going to be commuting, I'm not sure how we'll arrange that. Sok Kim-young said with a smile. Surely he's not planning to pay me nothing at all. How about this? In return for occasionally assisting with HR duties upon request, we'll offer you 50 million won a year with a cap of 10 hours a week. Just let me use the company cafeteria.
That's enough. I don't want the money. Just let me eat there. Getting 50 million won a year for just 10 hours of work a week would be easy money, but I don't want to step foot in the HR team where that man works. I'd just end up revealing all my cards in an instant. If you insist that much, I suppose I have no choice. Sok Kim-young nodded with a bitter smile. We'll provide room and board as you requested. Really? Just room and board? Isn't this the kind of situation where you usually throw in a little something extra? Cutting it so cleanly without a single crumb left? Yep, This guy's got a bad personality despite how he looks. If you ever develop a passion for work, don't hesitate to contact me. Okay. Instead of being seen as a nepotism hire, I'm probably going to end up being pitied. Even Yerem was already looking at me with eyes full of pity. Don't worry, mister. I have plenty of money now. I have enough to get by too, though I'll have to save it to buy stocks. Ah, but this really is too much. I brought them an S-ranked awakened, and all I get is room and board? I glanced over at Suk Kim-young, who was organizing documents, just in case. Is there no incentive for successfully contracting Miss Park Yerem? That was before you were employed, so naturally there's none. Should I add an incentive clause for you now? No incentive because it was before employment, huh? Feels like I've been scammed. Should I have tried to get something when negotiating Yerem's contract? I was too focused on taking care of her. But there's still one more opportunity. Please add an incentive clause for successfully contracting A-ranked awakens comparable to an S-rank, like Saintus level figures. Yoon Woo, with an SS rank crafting skill, even if he can't enter S-rank dungeons, he'd be treated as a quasi-S rank, just like the Saintus. I was planning to bring him in anyway, but I might as well get some compensation for it. When I said that, Suk Kim-young pulled out a pen with a leisurely smile. I can certainly add that. What amount or reward would you like? I was about to just ask for 100 billion won, but hesitated. In a few years, I wouldn't need to worry about money. So rather than cash, are you aware that I'm currently raising a flame-horned lion cub? Yes, the guild leader mentioned it. Well, you see, it's quite adorable and very attached to me. So I'd like to request either one more cub of the same grade as the flame-horned lion, or 3 cubs of a slightly lower grade, with the taming and care costs covered by the High-Yen Guild. Cubs? Suk Kim-young's face showed rare surprise. Well, I guess it's understandable. Instead of asking for money or items, I'm basically asking for pets. But unlike Peace, who technically belongs to Yu-hin and is raised with his money, any monsters I receive as incentives would be entirely mine. If I get a monster of the same grade as the flame-horned lion, I could even tackle B-rank dungeons with it, which would be far more valuable than a few bucks. And if I fail to apply the keyword, well, it just means I'll have one more pet. Since it wouldn't cost me anything, it's not a loss. If monster breeding regulations relax later, maybe I'll even appear on a TV show. It'd be popular for sure. It's not an impossible request, but it is unusual. Do you have another purpose in mind? Suk Kim-young tilted his head genuinely. Does it look like I do? Normally, I'd assume so, but I can't tell. I'll add the condition for you. However, keep in mind that high-grade monster cubs are hard to capture and rarely come up for auction, so delivery may be delayed. Well, it's not like S-rank awakens pop up every day either, haha. Of course, I plan to make Yoon Woo an SS rank crafter within 2 months. If I use my kid is the best 3 times, that should do it, right? Finally, after completing my employment process, I got up from my seat. I hope I don't run into this guy for a while. Well then, we'll be seeing each other often. What's that supposed to mean? I'm going to avoid the HR department like the plague. Is he not planning to hunt me down, is he? Outside, I looked through the documents that Suk Kim-young had given me about the inheritance left by Yerem's parents. Her uncle sold off a 50-pyong apartment, some land, and even a commercial building, all under the excuse that he couldn't manage it. After taking so much, he couldn't even buy her a pair of shoes? His conscience must be so thick it's layered like a triple sandwich. Are you really not going to sue? Yerem nodded, her expression uninterested. I don't want to get tangled up with him for too long. Besides, you said my base salary is over 10 billion won annually. That's true. Considering the future, it might be better to just feed the leeches a bit and then cut them off. If they keep trying to contact her or pull stunts on TV, it'll get annoying. All right then, let's stop by the legal team to pick up some paperwork and head over right away. It's still morning, so I guess the restaurant isn't open yet. They start serving from 1 p.m. on Sundays, so we should just go home. Yerim gave me the address. It's in a good neighborhood. Considering how much they siphoned off, no wonder. Still, the store looks small, almost shabby. Could they have blown through the inheritance already? If so, that'll make things easier.
Chapter 19. Once again, Kim Seong-han was acting as both the driver and bodyguard. Neither Yerim nor I had a driver's license. More accurately, I didn't have one at this point in time. I got my license and bought a car after I had somewhat settled as a hunter, even if I was only F rank. My beloved car hasn't even been manufactured yet, huh? Should I get the same model this time? As we approached the entrance of the apartment building, Yerim seemed slightly nervous. Well, she was only 15, a young girl who, despite the bad relationship, must feel uneasy about cutting ties with the relatives who had taken care of her. Still, thanks to the S-rank willpower boost, she pressed the elevator button without hesitation. Her hand moved decisively as she selected the floor. Looks like there's nothing to worry about. This is the place, Yerim said, as she turned toward the door on the right after we stepped off the elevator on the 14th floor. If that uncle of yours comes out and starts causing trouble, don't engage with him at all. When a high-rank awakened touches a regular person, it creates a lot of complications. Even if you get angry, hold it in. As for me, I'm F rank, so I'm not much different from an ordinary person. Yerim frowned, but nodded. After a final check, I stepped ahead of her and rang the doorbell. A moment later, a middle-aged woman's voice came through the intercom asking who it was. I'm the new guardian of Park Yerim. What are you talking about? A low murmur of confusion came through the intercom. They must be baffled. Soon, the door, which had been closed, opened. A burly man in his 50s, dressed in loose shorts and a tank top, stared at me with a scowl. Nice to meet you. You must be the former guardian of Miss Park Yerim. I greeted him with a polite voice and a smile. The man, Park Soo-chan, Yerim's uncle, scowled even more when he saw Yerim standing slightly behind me. What the hell did that brat do now? His yell made my ears sting. Boy, he's got quite the voice. Please, calm down. Calm down my ass. Who the hell are you anyway? As I just mentioned, I'm the new guardian of Miss Park Yerim. Guardian! At the word guardian, Park Soo-chan hesitated. He was probably thinking about the inheritance he had siphoned off from his brother. I'm her guardian, so what's this nonsense about a new guardian? What kind of scam are you trying to pull? It's not a scam. Please, see for yourself. I had prepared for this, so I took out the legal guardianship contract from the briefcase and handed it to him respectfully. It was officially notarized by the legal team after we had confirmed that Yerim was an awakened with the Heian Guild's internal measuring equipment and completed the contract as a hunter. There were no legal issues. When it comes to this sort of thing, you have to be thorough. An awakened? This brat? As the man skimmed through the contract, his face clearly showed greed. At least he's easy to read. He glanced at Yerim with eyes filled with desire. I heard awakens make good money. That depends on the rank, but that's not the point. As a minor hunter, Miss Park Yerim has the same rights as an adult, and therefore she can choose her own guardian. In other words, all the duties and rights you had as her guardian are now entirely gone. Park Soo-chan furrowed his brows, not fully understanding. What do you mean? I'm her guardian. Not anymore. Come on, get it through your thick skull. How many times do I have to explain? There's no such thing. She's only 16. She's 15. Under the special law, hunters have the same rights as adults starting at 14 years old. Miss Park Yerim is 14 as of her last birthday. Special law? What kind of bullshit is that? Enough with the crap. Get lost. Yerim, come here.
He tried to push me aside and approach Yerim, but I didn't budge an inch. I knew this would happen, so even though it's hot, I came wearing leather gloves. Go ahead and try. My strength is 24 now. This little... When the relatively smaller me didn't move at all, Park Soo-chan stumbled back in surprise. I casually blocked the door with my foot and slid the doorstop into place. What do you think you're doing trying to shove people around? Let's handle this peacefully. Shove? What's shoving? You're an awakened too, aren't you? Don't you know an awakened can't touch a regular citizen? Yes, I am an awakened, but with F-rank stats, I'm not much different from a regular person, and I have no intention of using violence. You're the one who shoved me first. At this moment, I'm a peace-loving, morally upright citizen. Just look at this kind smile. Don't I look like a good guy? I believe I've explained enough for you to understand that I am the guardian of Miss Park Yerim and that you are no longer her guardian, I said as I pulled the contract out of his hand. Then I took out the documents related to Yerim's inheritance. I noticed that you sold all the real estate that should have gone to Miss Park Yerim. As soon as the inheritance was mentioned, Park Soo-chan's face twisted with anger. That was because it was hard to manage, and Yerim agreed to it. You've got quite the mouth on you. When she was 15, or rather 13, and still in elementary school. Well, she agreed anyway. I find that hard to believe, but I'm not here to discuss the inheritance today. So let's get to the point. I put away the inheritance documents he clearly wasn't interested in and handed him another piece of paper. This is a written agreement stating that you will not approach or contact Miss Park Yerim from now on. Will you sign it? It might not have much legal power, but it could be useful for media play. Park Soo-chan scowled and cursed. I raised her with care, and now that she's an awakened, you're trying to take her away, you fucking bastard.
He slapped the paper to the floor, where it fluttered down. I heard the sound of someone grinding their teeth behind me. Just hang in there a little longer, Yerim. You sure sound like a devoted caretaker. Even though the girl you supposedly raised with care was wearing old shoes that didn't even fit her. I said, making it clear I was trying to control my anger. Actually, I was already starting to lose my temper, so I didn't have to pretend. Well, you know, when you're raising kids on a tight budget, they end up wearing hand-me-downs. It seems that these days, even when you swallow up an inheritance worth billions, you're still too poor to buy a single pair of shoes? Inflation must be out of control. I guess a new pair of sneakers costs 1 billion won now. Did I come from the past to the future? My sarcasm made Park Soo-chan's face turn red with rage. If you had any decency, you'd repay me for raising her. She's just gonna leave and live well on her own? What kind of person does that? Wow, the audacity. His skin must be a meter thick. I let out a loud sigh on purpose, then pulled out my wallet. So you're saying you want money? No, that's not exactly. Here's a check for 1 billion won. His eyes wavered as I held out the check. Well, I mean, that's not much. Remember that I have no reason to give you even that much. This is purely an investment for my ward. After hesitating, Park Soo-chan finally picked up the paper from the floor. His financial situation was probably in bad shape. Even a quick check of the property registry showed several mortgages in the hundreds of millions. After blowing through billions in just a few years, of course he'd be desperate for 1 billion won now. Give me a pen. Here you go. We both signed the agreement and each kept a copy. Then I hope we never have to meet again, I said as I turned off the recorder. The recording would make it sound like I was bowing and scraping while giving money to a scumbag. It captured him stealing the inheritance, mistreating Yerim, and taking the money. Meanwhile, I was nothing but respectful. Perfect. What was that? Park Soo-chan frowned as he noticed me turning off the recorder. What do you think?
It's a recording I'll use to bury you if you try anything." "What? You really think a piece of shit like you will just shut up after taking 1,000,000,000 won?" "You crazy son of a—" Bang! I slammed his face into the doorframe with my palm. Then I kicked his falling body into the hallway. The middle-aged woman who had been peeking from behind the inner door shrieked, "If you don't want a corpse on your hands, keep quiet. Don't cause a disturbance for the neighbors." It was quiet next door, probably because they were away for the weekend, but you never know. The woman nodded reflexively, trembling. I was just going to give him a warning, but now I feel a little embarrassed since she's so scared. I crouched down and lightly slapped Park Soo-chan's cheek. I could smell a bit of blood. Maybe he cracked the back of his head. He groaned and opened his eyes. "You should really be more careful. What happens if you hit your head and die?" "What?" "You know, apartment doors are made of metal. That's dangerous. Especially, look here." I pushed his limp arm toward the doorframe, pressing his fingers against the edge. When he tried to pull away, I gently stepped on his hand. If the door closes wrong, these could get chopped off, don't you think? An unfortunate accident? "Wait, I'm sorry. I'll give the money back." His eyes were filled with terror as he looked up at me. Maybe I went a bit too far since he's just a regular person. I've been hanging around half-crazed people until recently, so this isn't right. I need to live properly this time. I stood up straight and flashed a bright smile. Sorry about that. I went too far, didn't I? Don't worry, I won't bother you anymore. Just like today, as long as you don't act up, we won't ever cross paths. You can live peacefully. You just got 1,000,000,000 won for nothing. What's there to complain about? But if you get greedy, I won't stop at just a warning. I'll doctor the recording, sprinkle in some money, and bury you socially. Then I'll make sure you cough up every penny of that inheritance. If that's not enough, I'll drag you into a dungeon as a porter after forcing you to awaken. Did you know, when a dungeon is cleared, it resets and the bodies disappear? You can just say a monster killed them, and it's all neatly wrapped up. I'm starting to remember bad things again. I need to forget about that since it never happened. I'll live quietly. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'd appreciate that. Now, get up. Stop making it awkward by bowing your head. Feeling that everything was settled, I turned to Yarim. But her expression as she looked at me was odd. Did I go too far? Well, I did threaten to bash her uncle's head in and chop off his fingers. It's only natural she'd find that strange. I can't afford to ruin our relationship now. Hey, Yarim. Mister, are you okay? Huh? Yarim said as she approached me. Are you hurt anywhere? I think you've got the wrong person. I'm the one who did the hitting, so why is she acting like this?
Chapter 20. Even though I tried to handle things calmly, Mr. tried to get violent twice. Do you know how scared I was? Well, really? It's true that Park Soo-cheon came at me twice, but there's no way she didn't see me slam his head into the doorframe, right? Don't do that again. I was so on edge, I could hardly watch. Yarim grumbled. Was there really anything nerve-wracking about what just happened? It was completely one-sided. Is she blind or something? Anyway, since everything's settled, go pack your things. Okay. Yarim brushed past me and stepped into the apartment. By that time, Park Soo-cheon had managed to get up with the help of his wife. Yarim's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at him. Uncle, you really should be more careful, tripping and hitting your head like that. Her nonchalant voice left both of them dumbfounded. Even I was a bit surprised. I had used that as an excuse, but still. Didn't you see what happened? Yarim shrugged at his outraged shout. Of course, that's why I'm saying it. Or are you going to accuse Mr. of framing you? What? Framing? Yarim, how can you talk like that to your uncle? What's the matter, Auntie? You saw it too, didn't you? Uncle tripped and hit his head. Her voice was cold, almost chilly. The couple seemed at a loss for words. What should I do? Leave it alone or step in? How can you say that? Look at your uncle's head. It's bleeding. That man just... Auntie... Her voice grew even colder. Uncle tripped.
No, but you're still lying. I've made myself clear. She reached over to the umbrella stand and picked up a fancy long umbrella. The couple flinched reflexively. I remember when I said I needed a sturdy umbrella. Remember when the typhoon hit last year, you gave me that flimsy plastic umbrella that flipped and broke? You said you couldn't give me another one and it was my fault for breaking it, so I had to walk around with a big plastic bag over my head all through the rainy season. That happened? Isn't that borderline abuse? I don't care about that anymore. A lot of other things happened too, but I decided to let it go. It's not worth worrying. It's too insignificant. Her delicate, pale hands held the umbrella horizontally. Remember that. It's insignificant. So stay insignificant. But if you try to stir up trouble, saying Mr. did something to you when you tripped, crack! The umbrella folded in half. Sure, any strong adult could do that. But then it folded again. Crack! And it crumpled as if it was being crushed by a hydraulic press. Maybe it was the fact that this was happening in the apartment hallway, or perhaps it was because I knew she was an awakened hunter, but watching her dainty hands crush the umbrella like clay felt surreal. If I feel this way, it must be even worse for them. Thunk, roll. The now unrecognizable crumpled object was casually tossed to the floor. So, I won't let you get away with it. Urim awkwardly finished her threat. She probably couldn't think of a fitting way to conclude the threat, but it was more than enough for the couple. Urim turned to me and smiled sheepishly. This is harder than I thought, but I did okay, right? Okay, fine, but did you really just try to copy me? You insisted he just tripped, acted like you'd let it slide, then showed off some strength before finishing with a warning about not bringing up the past. It's kind of similar. This is why they say you can't even drink cold water in front of kids. The old sayings really are spot on. You're supposed to be the nice one. Oh, mister, being nice in this situation doesn't make you nice, it makes you a pushover. Can't argue with that. And since she's going to live as a battle hunter, it's better to be tough than soft. I gave a half-hearted nod and glanced at Park Soo-cheon and his wife. They looked completely dazed. They really should have treated her better. Given how much they took, at least they're still in one piece and even got some money without any real consequences. Must have accumulated some good karma in a past life. Let's wrap it up and get out of here. Do you have a lot to pack? Need help? No, there's not much. I'll probably buy new clothes anyway. I'll buy you a new pair of shoes, ones that fit you perfectly. Urim's face lit up with a beautiful, unblemished smile. You're not overextending yourself, are you, considering your salary is $0? She really knows how to get you where you live. I told you I have money. You think I've just been lounging around all these years, especially without going to college? I've got savings. Okay, then I'll treat you to lunch. You haven't even opened a bank account yet, so you don't have any money. Plus it's Sunday, so the banks are closed. She would get her signing bonus deposited once she opened an account. Then tomorrow, I'll treat you to something expensive as soon as the bank opens. I'll look forward to it. Urim happily went inside the apartment. If it weren't for the human wreckage scattered around the entrance, it would have been a heartwarming scene. Thunk. After loading her things into the trunk, I climbed into the back seat. As we drove, I chatted with Urim, who was excited about her newfound independence, and pulled out a mana potion from my inventory. What's that? Urim tilted her head as she saw the 100 milliliter drink bottle. Mana potion, apple-flavored. A mana potion? It looks just like a recovery drink from the pharmacy. The bottle and everything is made from Dungeon byproducts. If you return the empty bottle to the association, they'll give you points to use in the hunter shop. You couldn't store them in regular bottles. The return rate was low enough that there were even recycling campaigns for mid and high-ranked hunters. Of course, as an F-rank hunter, trying to save every penny, I always returned mine.
Is there a health potion too? There is. Want to see? Yeah. I pulled out a health potion, which looked just like the mana potion, except for the color, and handed it to her. Yedim took it and examined it curiously. If I drink this, will it really heal my wounds right away? This is the lowest grade, so it's not that effective. It's more for stopping bleeding and disinfecting wounds than actual healing. Oh, it only stops bleeding?
You have no idea how useful it is to stop bleeding instantly. Plus, even a potion like this is 10 times more expensive than a mana potion of the same grade. Yedim's eyes widened. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Mana potions are factory-made with finely ground mana stones, but health potions are handcrafted by healers. On top of that, it's hard to stabilize the skill effects in liquid form, so they can only make up to mid-grade potions. Higher-grade health potions, or elixirs, can only be found as dungeon reward. Elixirs, in particular, are so rare that only a few come out as rewards even in S-rank dungeons. I explained this to Yedim as I opened and drank the mono potion. I'd been spamming the promising talent skill, just in case, and I was running low on mana. The best result I got was a courier with a C-rank stats and a D-rank skill. Finding Yu Myung Woo was an incredibly lucky case. Usually, you don't even get B ranks. Stopping with just Yedim would be enough, but it would be nice to have a healer. As the saying goes, human greed knows no bounds. Now that I've secured combat power, I'm longing for a healer. An S-rank or even an A-rank healer would be perfect. Then I really wouldn't need anything else. The famous healers in the future were all foreigners, so I can't exactly go after them. For some reason, the highest-ranking healers in the country only reached B rank. Even the high-end guild held on with a B-rank healer until they eventually brought in a foreign hunter. There's got to be at least one out there. Should I set up a chair in a busy area and scout for a few days? We bought the necessary items, including shoes and clothes, had lunch, and then returned to the guild. Pak Yedim couldn't stop apologizing every time I opened my wallet. It wasn't like we bought anything expensive, and this was no big deal. I'll definitely pay you back for everything. I told you, it's fine. I checked my bank account balance at an ATM on the way back, and it was more than I expected. Even after setting aside money for stocks, I had enough to live on for a year. Plus, the most expensive part, room and board, was covered. On top of that, no commuting meant no transportation costs. And aside from my phone bill, utilities like gas and electricity were all free. My annoyance at having a 0-1 salary was starting to fade. That fading frustration completely evaporated when I was shown to the A-rank hunter dormitory on the upper floors. Basic living expenses and groceries are provided up to 1 million won per month upon request via phone or written request to the dormitory management office on the 15th floor. The staff member who was showing me around smiled prettily as she explained. Huh? They even cover that? It would be inconvenient for you to shop yourself, and we need to conduct a quarantine just in case. You can increase the limit at your own expense. They really take good care of A-ranks. Well, considering the revenue they generate, it's worth it to keep a close eye on what they eat to avoid any problems. Cleaning and laundry services are provided twice a week, and you can dispose of your trash by separating dry and wet waste and placing it in the chute in the hallway. Of course, you can also hire a personal housekeeper at your own expense. They even do cleaning and laundry? Here I was expecting nothing more than a spacious one-bedroom with free utilities, and now I feel like a thief for even thinking about asking for a salary. I didn't expect this level of service. This is Unit A15, assigned to you, Mr. Han Yu-jin. Miss Park Yedim will be moving into Unit A16 next door. Yedim wasn't with me because she was getting coordinated for her visit to the Hunter Association tomorrow. Apparently, they match your outfit not only to your appearance, but also to your personality, skills, and hunter traits. With S ranks being as popular as celebrities, I guess it makes sense. Does Yu Young go through this too? He does dress well. The staff member pulled out a key card and unlocked the door, then handed me the card. Only one key card is issued. If you want cleaning services while you're out, you can leave it with the management office. The security system is currently in its default state, so you can register your fingerprint and password to enter without the key card. I took the key card and stepped inside. The first thing that caught my eye was the living room, furnished like a luxury hotel or model house. Sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making everything glow. Please refer to this booklet for other instructions and precautions. The enclosure and safety facilities for your flame-horned lion cub will be installed on Monday. Until then, please refrain from bringing it to the dormitory. Yes, understood. And for your safety, we've installed a connecting door to Unit A16. Excuse me? I mean, I did agree to have her under my protection, but wasn't this a bit much? What about my privacy? I can lock it, right? From Unit A16. The staff member said it as if it was the most natural thing in the world. So I can't? I guess I'll have to go buy a latch or something and install it myself. Ugh, I'm exhausted. As soon as the staff left, I flopped onto the sofa. I was supposed to take it easy after regressing, but somehow I ended up running around like a crazy person. At least things are starting to fall into place. They provided an A-rank dorm with no time limit, so I don't have to worry about the future.
As long as dungeons don't suddenly disappear and we lose our awakening abilities, I'd better start planning for retirement. You never know, especially since everything happened so suddenly. After lying there for a moment, I slowly pulled out my phone. The rookie hunter training dates were set, so I should give him a call. I hope he hasn't done anything stupid since the last time we talked. The phone rang a few times before Yu Myung-woo picked up. Hello? The phone owner can't come to the phone right now. Huh? That wasn't Yu Myung-woo's voice. And then the call abruptly ended. What the hell? Why is my precious SS rank crafter unable to answer his phone?
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.